This week I'd like to tell you another little story. So, I have a cousin, another cousin story. I have a cousin who is a local celebrity, now really an international celebrity of sorts. His professional name is Six-Pack Lapadat, which a Romanian name is Lapadat, but Lapadat in the kind of Midwestern pronunciation. And he is a professional strongman and a powerlifting champion, world champion in powerlifting. And he appeared on first Canada's Got Talent and then on America's Got Talent, where he did a bleacher press of 3,000 pounds worth of people, including Howie Mandel and other judges, that are on that show, sitting on the bleacher. And he did it for charity, and he does a lot of this stuff for charity, for juvenile diabetes fund and so forth. And he's just a really incredibly great guy who does a lot of these kind of things for sick kids in particular. And so one of the way he kind of presents himself as a strong man, is like a Superman, is, do you need a hero? So if you go to his website, you will find that you can fill in a form online if you need him for a charity event. And among the many things that he lists that he can do for you is, do you need him to come flip a car, pull an airplane, do a bleacher press, and also reverse the Earth's orbit, which is awesome. So I think maybe we'll get him for one of these years for one of our events, see if he can do it for us. So he's just an all-around great guy. He's done some incredible things. But he's a humble spirit, and what he always approaches it from the perspective, and what his motto is simply this: do you believe? When he went to the powerlifting championship, he was in that position where he was guaranteed the bronze, and he could have stopped and not gone any further and been happy with the bronze, right? But if you took on the one more, the lift, the next level lift, if you failed it, you lost it all. But if you won it, you won the gold. You won the world championship. And he had to ask himself, do you believe? And so he pushed himself and he made it happen, and it worked, and he won. It's an incredible thing. As a family, we're incredibly proud of him to achieve such a thing. And he says that's when you look at life, all you have to do is just simply ask yourself, when you're up against that difficult situation, you ask yourself simply this: do you believe? Do you believe? And so he understands. He says, I was always interested in strength and in superheroes, and I wanted to see what I could be. And so he went that route. Now he is Six-Pack Lapadat. His baptismal name Ryan. You want to pray for him. Great guy. The reason he got into it, though, on this level, was originally birthed out a little bit of a tragedy. Though he had a friend, very close friend. He was like the friend's son is like his son, his nephew. He's an honorary uncle, he says. And one day his friend got sick and went to the hospital and was diagnosed with a cancer, and within 3 days died. It was one of these incredibly shocking situations. And that kind of shook him to realize, you need to do something with your life that's meaningful and start making things happen. And so he went to the children's hospital and asked, he said, do you think the kids would get a kick out of me, flipping a car or pulling an airplane? Basically, they didn't. He was nobody at the time. He had not been on any of these shows and hadn't won any championships. And they're like, who are you? Why? Are you crazy? What do you think you're? And so that's how it started. And he built from there. He built this reputation and so forth. Do you believe? Do you believe? And because of that, he shows to us, like all these wonderful athletes and people that have these strange obsessions to accomplish what is impossible for the rest of us, they make possible, right? And that's what we hear about in the gospel. With God, all things are possible. With men, this might be impossible, but with God, all things are possible. Now, with Ryan, with Six-Pack, A lot of things are possible, but not all things. Not all things. He couldn't save his friend's life, and he couldn't bring him back from the dead, and he couldn't reverse time by going around the earth fast enough to reverse the orbit, right? Only with God do we find the impossible things truly become possible. And so we have to ask ourselves, do we believe? Do we believe? The young rich man of the gospel today was being asked, he asked first of all for something that is impossible for men, right? What can I do to gain eternal life? There's nothing we can do to gain eternal life. We can maybe, if we're lucky, stretch out our longevity to 100 years, 110, and maybe it's a life you'll want, maybe not. I don't know. It might be a rough time those last 10, 20 years. But that's about it. That's about it. No amount of powerlifting, no amount of good exercise and good living is really going to extend our life much beyond that. For eternal life, impossible. Only God can provide such a thing. So when the young man walks away and he's sad and he had many possessions, so he didn't want to come and follow Jesus. He didn't believe. He didn't believe. He was still looking for something that he could do that would make it possible. He was looking for some regimen or discipline or focus or life powerlifting program to be able to make the impossible possible for him. He was doing pretty good up until then, but he couldn't get any farther. So we also need to ask ourselves, it's great to look at what we are good at in our life, where our passions lie, the positive passions, not the sickness passions of sin, but the things that drive us, the things that motivate us, the things that inspire us, what gets us moving, and to take those and to push ourselves to see what is possible for us in this life. That's a fine and good thing. We should do that. We might find that if we start taking a look at what we're good at and we start applying the same principles that we use to get good there in other parts of our life, we might find other parts of our life start getting good too. We might find that things that were impossible for us start becoming possible. But in the end, there will be an end to that. And we'll need that salvation. We'll need that rescue from the grave. We'll need that rescue from our own limitations. And that only comes through God. So brothers and sisters, as we begin this week, remember, with God all things are possible. Not all things are necessarily important or good or necessary. We're not going to necessarily do all the things that we would like to do, but we could do an awful lot. We could do an awful lot while we're here. We could make a really good positive change in the world and in the lives of those around us. But we have to rely on God, and we have to look for Him to make it possible. That's all. God bless. The prayers of our Holy Fathers, Lord Jesus Christ, our God, have mercy on us and save us. Amen.